Well, while I wait for people to kind of come in here, I'll just admit that I accidentally killed my live stream, basically clicked the wrong button and killed the live stream. So I'm hopeful that people will realize that the live stream is ended and they will join me on this one. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Yeah, sometimes I'm an idiot. What can I say? So we'll wait to see if people are going to come in. We'll just check a few things out, make sure our wait screen works. Okay, that's working. So we've got at least one person in. So if you were in the previous stream, I do apologize for pressing the wrong button and killing the stream. At some point, this probably will catch up a little bit. So bear with me. And when you do arrive in this stream, if you could let me know if everything looks okay and sounds okay and you can hear me and all those kinds of good things. Let's just say it's been a little while since I've done a live stream and it shows. Yeah, it definitely shows. So if you could let me know, can you hear me? Can you see me? If you've hopped over from the previous one, I do apologize for killing that live stream. Hopefully you will be able to join me on this one and we'll get up and running straight away. Hey, Imran. Just technical issues today. I think my brain is the technical issue. Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks very much for joining. Does everything look okay, sound okay? Can you hear me? Can you see me? All those kinds of useful things. Let me know in the chat section. Like I say, my apologies for killing the last live stream. Oh, excuse me. Cool, glad to see people coming over. Thank you very much. Yep, looks and sounds good. Thanks very much, John. Pleasure. So I'll wait for a few more people to kind of come over and then we'll start talking and we'll go over a few bits and pieces. So first of all, Imran, thanks for joining in. I hope the bookkeeping goes okay and I hope your good lady wife doesn't shout at you too much today. Asim, good to see you in. Dave, good to see you in as well. Mark, thanks for joining in. Good stream yesterday. Well done, son. El Darcy, good to see you as well. Charlie, Jaden, John, Goods, Els, pleasure to see you as well. So yeah, I've got a little topic that did kind of sort of fire up this live stream, but I'm also kind of thinking, well, I need to get back into doing live streams as well and doing this a bit more often. So you can expect to see a few more. And obviously, we've got the Creator Network podcast stroke live stream that will be coming out. Hopefully next week will be the first one, which will feature myself, Imran, we've got Jeffrey from Lightbox and Mark from Wiki Design. So that should be pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to that. So as soon as you've got everything in place there, we'll post that information up on all of our social networks and all of our groups and things so everybody will know. But I'm looking forward to that. So that's a really cool idea that I think, hopefully will resonate with people. It's not just about how to use WordPress, all that kind of stuff. It's the creators, as in like people that are involved in creating content for WordPress and on YouTube and things like that. But also the fact that either we all work with clients or we've had agencies, we've got agencies. So there's going to be lots of little stories and things behind the scenes that hopefully will help you with what you do. If you're working as a solo person, working as a freelancer, working as part of an agency or running an agency, I'm sure there'll be a ton of stuff inside there as well that could be useful. And as always, comments, feedback, be involved in the chat, all those kinds of good things. It should be a lot of fun. So keep an eye out for that. So hopefully that will be the first one will be coming out next week. Fingers crossed. But what we're probably going to do, this isn't set in stone yet, we're probably going to rotate it around each of our respective YouTube channels. So it won't be just housed on one. But like I say, because we'll be letting everybody know on all of our respective social media, email, Facebook groups, those kinds of things, you should have plenty of notification for where it's going to be and links to go and actually view the live stream or catch up with the previous live streams and so on. And there will be a dedicated website that will have more information about the live stream, the podcast, the people behind it, previous episodes and things will be all linked on there. So if you want one centralized location, that's probably what we're going to be doing. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm sure the others that are involved in it as well are also super excited. Anyway, so what do I want to talk about today? Well, the topic was pretty simple about support and issues that kind of go on that. Now, there was a topic that was brought up recently. I'm not going to name names, no company names and things like that. But it kind of got me thinking because I'm sure we've all had experiences of poor support. Product could be great, but the support sucks and probably puts you off using it. So if you had a really poor support experience, you don't have to name the companies or the products. Let me know in the chat section, or if you're watching on replay, let me know in the comment section. What's been your worst experience with any product, service, so on, support? Not the product itself, the support side of things. Because I'd love to know about that side of things from you guys. As him, to be honest, I don't do drop shipping. So to be honest, I'm probably not the best person to talk to about that. There are dedicated groups and things to do with drop shipping. And also there's lots of great sort of YouTube channels out there. I think it's Dropship Ted or something like that. That's a channel that's dedicated to whole things to do with drop shipping. Me, I'm not a dropship person, so it's not something that I'm really that au fait with. So unfortunately, I'm probably not going to be the best person to ask for this one. So Els is having a break from a birthday party. Well, I hope you're not drinking too much, and if you are, good. Enjoy the birthday party. So that's it. Let me know if you've got any experiences that have been really poor. Let me know in the chat section. And as always, if you've got any questions for me during the live stream, if you just do #Q, that's #Q for question, or if you want to use the word question with a hashtag before it, it means that it's easier for me to find those and be able to answer as many as I can moving forward. So please do keep that in mind. But let's go back to poor experiences and how that can have a massive effect. I mean, that's it, Wholesale Ted. Thanks, Jennifer. That's the one you're looking for. I say, have a look at that one. It's a good channel if you want to look into drop shipping and those kinds of things. So, yeah, thanks, Jennifer. So bad experiences. Now, being someone that sells things like courses and digital products and so on, it is one of those things that's very, very difficult. You know, if you've got tons and tons and tons of, let's say you do a launch of a product and you get a lot of sales coming through, there's always going to be a lot of sort of technical support questions, refund requests and things like that. And it's something that I know that I struggled with when I first started, released my first course and so on, and or webinar, that kind of thing, because it is overwhelming when you start to get all that in. You kind of think, how do I deal with this? What's the best way to deal with it? So to give you a good example, refunds. You can put terms and conditions in, and we talked about this in our Creator Network, and I've talked to people like Dave Foy and Imran, and we've all talked about these kinds of things. And at first, you kind of think, I'm going to put these terms and conditions in that says you have to have all these kinds of things before you'll get a refund or blah, 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 blah. But the reality of it is, I think the way in which you deal with things like that, like refunds or technical support or issues and things, they are the things that will help make or break the product stroke service. I've had people that have got messaged me after they bought the course and things. They go, it's not for me. It's not sort of detailed enough, or it's too complex, or whatever the case may be. And at first you kind of think, what's the best way to deal with this? But the one thing I found is refund. It's one of those things that, you'll get a much better reputation from that person that says that next time you release something and they look at it and they go, I don't mind buying that, because if it's not for me, I can get my money back and it's not a problem. Now, obviously, you need to be careful of people that abuse this kind of thing, where they'll watch your entire course or they'll have a digital download and it's like a case of, I want my money back. And you have to be realistic. If you sell a $20 digital download for a product, well, chances are you're not going to give a refund because they've already had that digital product. Have enough information on your landing page, your site, those kinds of things. There has to be some kind of balance. This isn't a kind of like catch all. But I do think the way in which you handle these things is massively important. A good example of this was years and years and years ago. And it was a small company, and it was kind of versus Sony. And it was something, I can't think what the exact details of it were. But basically, the small company handled it in a really effective way. And what it did was it actually skyrocketed their sales. This isn't specifically about refunds. It's just like with it an issue. And their sales skyrocketed because they handled it in such a great way that lots of people talked about this on social media. And anybody that was interested in that company, first of all, people found out about them that didn't know anything about them because people were so vocal about how good their experience had been in a bad situation, that people were finding out about this company and buying the product or the service, whatever it was at the time, and their sales skyrocketed and their reputation skyrocketed. On the opposite side, Sony did something and they basically washed their hands of it. And what happened was their stock prices went down. Lots of people created content on things like YouTube and blog posts and things like that. And their reputation took a hit from it. So I've always kind of kept that in the back of my mind. It's like how you deal with these situations is massively important, because these are the things that can make or break your product, your service, your reputation, whatever it is. So if you are looking to create a product, or you are looking to sell a service, it could be web design, could be maintenance plans, it could be SEO, technical support, whatever it is, always consider how you respond to the people that contact you. Whether they're frustrated and so on. If you can have a positive spin on dealing with someone that's really having a bad day, because let's be honest, but we all have bad days, then you find that something you wanted to work doesn't work the way you want. You get super frustrated, you get onto technical support, and you give them both barrels. It's human nature. And if that person on the other end of the phone or technical support comes back and just fires a load of SHIT back at you, it's not a good scenario. If they handle it in a great way and they kind of calm the situation down, which isn't always easy, but calm that situation down and turn it around to a positive, that end user is going to remember that way more than they're going to remember a really poor situation. So always consider how you handle things when it comes to any kind of support. Because I'm sure that we've all had, on the flip side of it, we've had bad experiences, we've told people, and they would never then go and use it. I know I do, and I'm sure in conversations we've had the same kind of things, like, oh, you never use them. I mean, there is one good example of a company that a lot of people would use. Let me give you a different example. A lot of people don't like a particular licensing platform for WordPress. And any product that uses that licensing platform, doesn't matter how good the product is, that person will never use that product because of that licensing system. You don't need to name names, don't need to do any of that. I'm sure anybody knows. But it's always worth bearing in mind, because sometimes those implications are far, far reaching and go way beyond the immediate. And you may lose $50 in refunding someone, but that is very quickly offset by the hundreds or thousands you may lose by them telling people and being open. Facebook, Twitter, all those kinds of things, that's opened the airwaves up to anybody that wants to complain or bitch and moan. I do it, and I'm sure lots of other people do it when we've had a bad experience. When we had a good experience, you tend to just tell your close friends kind of thing. So it's worth bearing that in mind. But like I say, anybody that's had any experiences in this kind of thing, I'd love to know, good or bad. If you've had a really good experience, let me know in the chat or the comments on replay. But if you can, just do a hashtag if you've got a reply kind of thing. Just makes my little easier. Okay, so let's have a little look at what we've got. I've seen a couple of comments kind of flying in for different companies. Right. Peter, I bought a WP theme and then they announced that they would quit the development from one to another. They then announced they were back but free for all users. I'm pretty sure I know exactly what you're talking about there, but another good example of these kinds of things is like ThemeForest, for example, where companies put their products up on there and then they take their product off, and it's like, you are shit out of luck because you bought it, you might have used it on a client's website, and then that's gone. Really frustrating. That's a different kind of thing. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about there, and yeah, again, super frustrating because you put money into that product. The experience wasn't great. We don't always know what goes behind the scenes. And if I'm thinking about what you're talking about there, yep, it is one of those things. I put money into that as well. I know a lot of people put money into it, and not just their money, but their faith and part of their business. Start to build a business around those kinds of things, and it's difficult. It is difficult. Yeah, sorry, Elliot, it is a new stream because I've stupidly pressed the wrong button because I moved the button on my stream deck and I pressed that instead of pressing the one I want, which killed my stream. And I didn't get the option to not kill it. So super annoying. So unfortunately, we had to move over to this one. So I do apologize. Right. Yeah, let's not talk about YouTube support, because let's be honest about it, that is awful. But then again, this goes into those bigger company things. I mean, once a company goes beyond a certain size, you tend to find one of the first things that go is the technical support side of things. I mean, we've probably all experienced it where you've contacted your your hosting company, or you've contacted your ISP, or things like, if you're in the UK, Sky TV, for example, or BT, or some of the big telephone providers. It's all automated. It's all 50,000 button presses to get through. Then it's a 3-hour wait. And 3 seconds before you're the one that gets answered, your line gets cut for whatever reason or partway through the conversation. All these things are really annoying. And all they do is put you off ever contact them. So you just have a shit experience. It is not good. Yeah, Imran, I know we've had conversations about the whole refunds thing. But from personal experience and talking to others, unless there's a reason why, someone's consumed everything you put out there and then they go, oh, I want a refund, you kind of have to have something in there that says, there's got to be a certain level of sensibility included. But in general, I just kind of think two ways. If you get lots of refunds, what you put out there is probably substandard and people are not happy with it, and therefore they're a little bit peeved that they've paid for it. But if you get a couple of % of people asking for refunds on courses or digital products and things like that, I just think give it back, because the goodwill is better than the negative feedback that you can get and how easy that can get out of control. There's a balance. All these things have to have a balance. There's no black and white. There's gray, and gray makes up the biggest portion of it. But the way you handle the situation is something that will give you people that are still happy to come back and buy again, as opposed to those that will never, ever buy off you again. We've seen it many, many times where your experience has been substandard and you go, I will never touch that company again, ever, no matter what. I know I do, and I'm sure lots of other people do as well. Yeah, Phil, you're probably right on that one. AI does seem to be one of those things that is making the experience even worse, because you can very quickly tell which is AI and which is a human interaction. And AI is okay, but I was asking, what platform was I on the other day? I was doing something on a platform, I think it was Circle, and it was like, how do you do so-and-so? I don't understand that question. Please ask another one. And I'm like, but this is really annoying. If it's a human person, they could actually come back and go, are you talking about this or are you talking about this? Can you clarify what you're talking about? Whereas with the AI experience, they're trained to a certain extent, but they're not great. In the same way, prior to that, where you had the non-AI, so everything is a case of, if this is the question, then go off on this, and you kind of have these different paths. Really, really annoying. Yeah, support is a difficult one. Now, Fixius Maximus, that's a great name. SiteGround had great support for a number of years, but now they just throw an AI chatbot at you, and it's really not very good. If I'm reaching out for support, I don't want AI prompts. Yeah, again, I think this kind of sums up what I said in the last one. It's a poor experience for most users. AI is okay, and I think AI will get better. As we know, AI where it is today is not where it's going to be tomorrow. It's the worst it is today, it'll be better tomorrow, all those kinds of things. But you're only going to look at the fact that they're running out of training data. So it's only going to be so far before training data becomes limited, because it can consume that data way faster than it can be produced, which is scary. But AI is generally not a good experience unless what you're asking is very, very generic. How do I do this with my DNS server, or how do I change my name server? Things like that are okay. But in general, not the best thing in the world. Elliot, support is really, really hard. If you're going to release something, you seriously need to have your support strategy prepared for sure. Good support is essential. Absolutely agree. And I think it's one of those things that unfortunately people don't necessarily consider when they are creating a product and putting it out there into the world. I can imagine the biggest time suck on anything that's out there that requires any kind of technical knowledge or any kind of knowledge to be able to utilize it is going to have considerable amounts of support requests. It's one of those things that I kind of talked about ages ago on a live stream. And it was to do with people complaining about like Elementor's technical support and things. And not just Elementor, but with that many million users, there's going to be a big thing. And I've always said the same thing. It's like when you've got a free product, like Elementor Free, for example, that's probably where the biggest number of support requests are going to come from, because there are going to be more users that are using the free platform that are going to be using the paid platform. And therefore, that's going to be massive on your technical support and things. So I always kind of think, well, if you're going to do something like that, make a paid ticketing system. I've seen it in the past. I can't think what company it was. But you once you had the product, if you wanted support, you paid for support. And I think that's a very realistic way. If you want one ticket, it's like, well, you can buy a ticket, it's like $5. Something negligible for most use cases. Well, you'll be a little bit more understanding and support is going to be more realistic to be useful. Well, I say useful, you know what I mean. If there's a financial exchange there, I know that's a very black and white scenario, but when there's nothing there, there's no money, you got to kind of think, well, at what point does it become non-viable to support the support side of things? So with a paid ticketed system, at least there's some financial recompense to the company and some sort of skin in the game, should we say, by the person that has a problem. Because I can imagine there's probably a big percentage of support requests go straight to support without looking at anywhere else, like, help documentation or, Facebook groups and things. They go straight to support and expect it to be there very, very quickly, which puts a massive strain on support itself. Whereas if it's paid, at least there's money going back into it to help support the support system and also maybe expand the support system if enough requests are there. If everything is free, something's got to give somewhere down the line. So yeah, I do agree that they should have strategies in place right at the beginning to understand support is going to be a big part of everything. I can imagine that does well. Support goes to pot during Black Friday sales. Many support teams become overwhelmed. Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's one of those things that it would make sense if that was compensated for in some way. However they handle it, I don't know. That'll come down to a company by company situation. But yeah, when you've got those big spikes in traffic, the big spikes in interest in your product or your service, then there's going to be a big spike in refund requests, for support requests, and so on. So yeah, Black Friday, that kind of week, and the Cyber Monday probably goes absolutely crazy. Mr. Gecko, what have we got? I dislike support that answers by stalling the counter questions. Have you started? I mean, the basic standards. I think that's because a lot of the time you've got, we'll say first line support. The first people that you'll actually speak to in a support network. And I would say most of those are not technically trained. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be reading off a prompt and it'll be asking the standard questions. It'll be a case of you will say, this is the problem. And then they'll go to this and they'll go through that checklist. And then when they can't get a solution from that, they'll then move on and push it to the level 2 support, which probably have a little bit more technical knowledge. Unfortunately, again, I think that will probably become less and less and less because it will switch over to AI that'll do the same thing from an AI point of view. But it is one of those things that I totally agree, it is a difficult one. And Dave, language barrier is also a big limitation providing technical support. It is. And the problem you've got, and this is, I'm speaking for the UK, I'm not speaking from anywhere else, I don't know. I'm sure it probably is the same. There's an awful lot of technical support in the UK that's pushed out to, we'll say, generally sort of like to the India part of the world for technical support. Obviously, because they've got big infrastructures out there. And the cost of it is probably considerably lower. I know my bank has done it. A sales point in the UK these days is when they say UK support. And this is no disrespect to anybody on the other end of that phone line. But there is a definite language barrier between if someone in the UK is dealing with a sort of a very strong Indian accent, for example, and this isn't specific to Indian accents, so don't think that. It is quite difficult then to have a conversation where there's a delay. The phone lines generally tend to be pretty poor. There's a strong language barrier between both sides. And then if you add in the equation of they're going through the sort of the standard level 1 technical support, you can see where frustration and where problems come in from that side of things. But you can understand from a business point of view, I suppose, that financially, if they've got lots of support requests, they have to farm that out to other places that can be cost effective. It is where it is, but it doesn't mean that it's good. Okay. Jennifer, asked for a refund on a plugin that didn't do all the things it said, but those things are what I wanted. To support this, they acknowledged it and do in future releases and wanted a different reason. Now, this is a good, leads on to a slightly different thing. But where you've got like lifetime deals, one of the things that a lot of lifetime deals are sold on is their roadmap. And a lot of people will buy into that roadmap. And I'm of the mindset that if you were going to buy a lifetime deal, or you're going to buy a product, and this isn't specific to Jennifer's case, like I say, if they'd already said that was going to be in there, then it should have been in there. But when you buy into a product that's bought on a roadmap, I would say you're better off buying into that product and what it offers right now and hope that those other things come into play. So if it doesn't offer what you want right now, if you want to take a punt, chuck your money in. It's your money, your choice kind of thing. But I would never look at a product and go, oh, but that's coming, and they'll say it's in Q3 or Q4. Well, until it's here, you're buying it on what it releases today. Don't ever buy on what they say. But yeah, Jennifer, again, I think that's the kind of thing that sucks, is if you bought it for those specific features, especially if it's a licensed product where they can just basically just revoke that license. They can handle license management. So you can't take the mick and still carry on using that plugin. If that was going to come into a future release, it could come tomorrow, it could come next year, it could come never. So again, like I say, you will probably never go back to that company and buy that product again because of a poor experience. Okay. Candid question. Shouldn't we name names? That may be helpful for people who don't know the benefit from the experience of those who have been burned. Yes and no. It's one of those things that you've got forums, you've got Twitter, you've got things like that, and it's very easy to sort of see what people are saying and what people are frustrated in and so on. You've only got to look at different places and see the technical support problems. There's been open on various different Facebook groups and so on. But what I'm mindful of is, yes, I could stand here and I could sort of say all the companies and things that I've had good or bad experiences with. I would rather leave that to the people that are actually having that bad experience. The one you're talking about, I've never had a bad experience in my correspondence, but my correspondence has been outside of support. So for me to sort of come in and say, this is the company and this is the company's name and blah, 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 this is the product, I think would be a bit disingenuous from my point of view, because I don't have first-hand experience of that poor experience that we're talking about here. If we're on the same page, which we probably are. But if I've had bad experience, I will name the company. But I say I haven't in this instance, and the company's I've never had a problem with dealing with that company. So like I say, I think it would be disingenuous for me to name names when I don't have experience of what's being talked about. If I had, then I'd name names. I hope that is understandable for what I'm talking about. Jennifer, I had to tell them their refund policy didn't quite require me to tell them why I wanted one. I thought I was providing feedback for future purchases. Then they gave me the refund. Again, this is where, some companies, their terms and conditions are not worth the virtual paper they're written on. They will do anything to get out of giving you your money back. In the same way that insurance companies will do everything they can to get out of paying you if you need the insurance claim. But you can only go by what the T&C say. And some companies, when they're sort of called out on that, like you found, Jennifer, they, sort of said, okay, we'll give you your money back. But again, I just think that if you're getting tons and tons and tons of refund requests, your product probably sucks for some reason. If you're getting a couple of refund requests, just give the money back. The goodwill is much more, let's just say, to use Jennifer's example here, you'd bought that product, it said it was going to do X, Y, and Z. It didn't do X, Y, and Z, but that was coming in a roadmap. So you said, I'd like my money back. If you needed that, and they give you money back with no questions, that's no quibble, no problem at all. There's your money back, thank you very much. If then you had been in a situation where you go, actually, I need that same feature, let's go and take a quick look. Oh, okay, that's actually there now, and I can see that it's there, and you could get your money back without a problem. If it didn't, it did transpire it wasn't there, you'd buy it again. But chances are now you won't buy from that company again, even if that feature is in there, because it was a pain to get your refund. And I think this is the important thing. It's like, these are the things that set up good customer-client relationships or customer, business relationships. Mario, no, you're probably right, unless, of course, it's a really, really simple question. But yeah, generally, I don't think the support bots are particularly great. A lot of the time, it's going to come down to how well they've been trained, and probably chances are, not that well. But yeah, how much support can you expect from a free product? Personally, I would say community support. If you want direct support with the developers or with the company, then again, personally, I think that free product should have a paid ticketing system, because you've got the product for free, you've got community support, and if it's a good product, there'd be generally a large community around it. Good example is, the Bricks community, the sort of Elementor communities and so on. So you can get a lot of help there because you've got a lot of people that probably either come across the same issue and so on. But for me, I think if you've got a free product, if support want to do it, that's up to them. But I think you shouldn't expect support on a free product. I don't think you should. Not as in like first level support from the development company or the people or person behind it. I think that's a little unrealistic to expect. Obviously, if they want to, it's up to them. Vodafone was one of the ones I was thinking of, Ben. Those kind of companies, when it comes to their phone line support, it's bloody awful. And try finding a phone number for them. That's one of the most difficult things. If there's one thing that really annoys me with a company, and this is not so much with plugins and things, it's a very different thing, I think. But like phones and things like that, try finding a phone number for these big companies so you can actually try phoning them. It is ridiculous. Everything has to be done either by a chat, if they've got it, or via email. Nightmare. Do you check Trustpilot before they buy, or is it a better alternative? I think it probably depends on what you're sort of looking to buy. Trustpilot and things like that can be useful, but I think you have to be realistic and look at how realistic are those feedback. Because a lot of time, especially these days, you can find there's tons and tons and tons of comments, and you go, this is great, and you'll see there's a very similar way of wording things, or very similar, support for this was absolutely fantastic. Oh, I found the support amazing. When I needed support, the support was there. It's like they all you can see the real ones based upon how they're written and what they say compared to the bot-based ones or the ones that have been paid for. So I think you have to be sensible there. Amazon had a real problem with this for quite some time. If you looked at their reviews, you could very, very quickly see that most of those were free products that have been sent out. I think it's a little better these days. You can see that people they say when they've actually bought it or if it's been supplied to them. You have to be sensible. There's so many automated ways of getting these things to be skewed in favor of the company and the product. Do your due diligence, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. What do we have? Hello, Eric from Alabama. How are you doing? What have we got? Phil, another point of annoyance for me is when I contact tech support and 2 minutes into the conversation, I realize I know way more than the person I'm talking to. Yeah, that is incredibly frustrating. And I think that kind of goes back to that sort of tiered support system. Because you'll tend to find they'll have the most non-technically advanced people with a first line of support going through those little checklists to see if they can find the common causes of whatever the problem or problems are. It is a difficult one. But yeah, there's nothing worse. There's been numbers of times where I'm sort of on there and you go through, right, I've done this, I've checked this, I've done that, blah, 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 and then they come back and ask you the simplest question. It's like, well, I literally just told you I've done all of these things. And they go, oh, but have you done so-and-so? It's like, yes, I've just told you I've done all that and the next 50 things you're going to tell me to try. One of the worst ones for that was BT with their technical support with broadband and fiber. Oh, let's not go there. Eric, definitely. Elementor Pro's support is lacking, but the plugin that I've been trying to extract from because their support sucks is dynamic content for Elementor. Again, I've never really... I've got a business relationship with Giovanni, so I can't comment on that. But again, I've never used technical support on these, so I can't really say anything. I know some people have come back and said it's been really good support. I don't know. It's probably one of those things that sometimes you get the right person on the wrong day or the wrong person on the wrong day, and they just want to go home or, whatever. But it is frustrating when you kind of see technical support, especially when they're plugins or themes and things like that you really, really like, and then you kind of see people getting frustrated. And there's been a number of times where behind the scenes I've kind of gone, tagged, sort of gone to a message kind of thing, tagged in that post or tagged in the developer behind the product into that post to hopefully push them over to it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it is a difficult one. It is frustrating when you can see a good product being hampered by poor support experiences. And like I say, this is one of the things, this is what kind of prompted this conversation today. It's disheartening. You want to see, there's lots of products that I see and I think they're really good products and I really want to see them succeed. But then you kind of see these horror stories of people having really bad support experiences or really bad refund experiences and so on. And it's kind of like, that kind of sucks. You know, I want them to do well in all aspects. Excuse me. Okie dokie. Right. We talked about support quite a lot. Question is now, if anybody's got any general questions, just do #Q. That's #Q for question. I'll be happy to do my best to answer them within my ability. But yeah, let me know. Let me know what you want to know. Also, there's a misconception that what has become common is the new bar to measure against. As someone who used to be in tech support pro, I'm appalled at what different plugin companies find acceptable. Bear with me 1 second. Yeah, I agree. And also, not just support, sometimes the product itself. It's what some people consider to be an MVP or minimum viable product. Sometimes be very, very poor. And it's really frustrating to see that kind of thing. So yeah, when it's technical support and so on. And the sad thing is, I do think that because there's been such a low bar set in lots of different things like support, like in how easy it is to release products and things like that, that it has pushed the bar down a lot lower and people become comfortable with that low value, which is kind of sad. We should have higher standards, as the company should have higher standards. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. So yeah, it is a bit of a sad thing. Charlie, what do we say? Unfortunately, there's a legacy expectation that everything open source is free, even support. Even reasonable people seem to forget that open source product staff have to be paid. 110%. You know, the other thing that kind of really frustrates me, and I've spoken about this in the past, is the expectation for things to be free. The number of times I've put videos up on a product and people come back screaming, it's like, oh, this isn't free. It's like, why should it be free? You know, it's like you've got a reason to want this product to do something. And chances are there may be hundreds, if not thousands or tens of thousands of other people out there that need that. Why should the person that's taken the time to solve that problem not be compensated for the hard work they've put in? I think they should be. You know, this expectation of free is really not a good expectation. And like you say, open source doesn't mean free. It's a very different thing. Open source means that you can have access to the code. Doesn't mean to say that you have access to everything for zero cost. Now, I've had companies marketing, promoting, putting technical support on, updates, security, all those kinds of things. There's a cost involved in all of that. And we shouldn't expect it to be free. I mean, another good example of this, and if Imran's still here and anybody else like Mark and so on, you probably know what I'm talking about. I will have people come onto videos and they go, oh, this was a great video. Could you now do one about building a real estate website where I need to have an automated system that'll connect me up to my email marketing? I want the database connection to how I can import this from an external API service and this, that, and the other. Could you do a tutorial on that? And I'm like, there's literally weeks worth of work in that. And the reason that someone wants that to be done is because they've got a potential client and they want to know how to build that website. And I love creating content. I've got over 1,000 videos on here and I won't stop creating free content. But when the expectation is, let's jump over there and ask someone to basically do all my work for me so I can then get a paying client to pay me to do that. And I can just follow along with what I have done, for example. It kind of feels like there's this crazy expectation for what should and shouldn't be free. It's really opened my eyes to what people's expectations are and how that's changed over the last 10 years, probably. People expect so much for zero cost. It's crazy. Howdy, Brendan. How are you doing, sir? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining in today's stream. Yeah, so anyway. Yeah, Eric, question. I missed the beginning of the stream. Am I supposed to add #Q to my questions? If you wouldn't mind, Eric, it just makes my life a little easier because then I can just go up and I can filter and I can search for #Q. It just makes my life a lot easier than finding what they are. Shane, in your opinion, who in your opinion is the best UK-based hosting provider? I wouldn't have a clue because I think you've got so many variables in place and my expectation of my experience would be completely different to the next person. what I've tended to start doing now is I bought xCloud, which is a kind of, if you've ever used Cloudways, for example, Cloudways basically has this visual connection between you, which is what you see on the Cloudways dashboard, and whoever you use as your hosting account. So Vultr, DigitalOcean, those kinds of things, Amazon AWS, and so on. I've started using xCloud, which is the same kind of thing, but I've got control over who I want to use. So I've bought the lifetime deal, and I can connect up multiple servers to that, and then I can have full control of connecting up through and using it as an interface. So that's what I'm currently using, and I use the Vultr servers. However, what I would always suggest is one of the key things when it comes to any hosting provider, and this kind of ties in very nicely to what we're talking about today, is the support side of things. Now, I use a company that's not a massive company called Klook. That's C-L-O-O-K. And I've been using them for probably 15 years. They're a company that's based in the UK. Do they have everything the best? When you kind of compare it to tools like, some of the other things like xCloud, for example, or Cloudways and so on, no, they probably don't. But their support have been absolutely amazing. And to be honest, I've never really had any issues. One or two little glitches over the last 15 years, but what do you expect if you've got like 100 clients on there or 100 sites on there, including your own? Any company's going to have glitches. It's just how they deal with them. But the support side of things has always been absolutely impeccable. I can send them a ticket, and I will get generally one of maybe half a dozen different names that I'm used to, and I will have support back normally within minutes. I think probably the longest I've ever had to wait is probably 30 minutes. That in itself is fantastic. And this is not a case of some vague, random, have you turned the power off and turned it back on crap. I'm talking about people that know what the hell they're talking about. Anything that I've kind of gone through, and when there's been a problem and they've sorted that problem out, and I've asked them what was the problem, they've told me what the problem was, so I can, if I can, mitigate it in the future. So for me, if you want a UK hosting provider, I would recommend taking a look at Klook. Like I said, a C-L-O-O-K. Have a look and try them out. Try them out with a couple of sites. I use the reseller account. I had them for, like I say, for the last 15 years. And I've always had amazing support, and the service itself has always been very, very good. So check it out. And they offer cloud and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of options there available. I'm sure you can find something that would be useful for you. But Shane, try them. They're not crazy expensive. You can try them, test their support out, see what you think, what your experience is, and go from there. Like I say, I've got no affiliation to these. I've got no connections, other than the fact I've been using them for pretty longer than 50 years, pretty closer to maybe 20, which just sounds insane. Mr. Gecko, doing what you do, Paul, providing content, doing courses for us, etc. How is that financially for you compared to working with clients? Could you completely detach from client work for this? I basically have, I've got legacy clients. I don't take on any new clients. Any projects I work on, more to kind of keep my hand in on working with clients and being able to have conversations and talk about things from someone that actually still does this, as opposed to being set back from it all. Excuse me again. So, yeah, I kind of have a very small pool of clients. And when one of them decides to leave for whatever reason, then I don't look to replace those. In the future, would I go back to doing client work? I don't think so, because I think from my point of view, there are too many things in there that I don't really enjoy. I prefer doing this kind of thing where I feel I can help people further their own careers, showing people how to build things that they might not have been able to build, have conversations like this where we talk about different issues of business and things, having a network of people that are still running agencies and so on, that we can kind of have conversations, live streams and things. So yeah, that's really, really a tiny, tiny portion of what I do. And I think that's only going to get smaller. Eric, we all love Imran. He's a very genuinely nice person. Don't tell him that, though. He's probably gone off to do his accounts now anyway, so we can ignore him. Okay, yeah. What do we have? Any more questions we've got here, peeps? Does anyone here have any experience with a plugin media library assistant, a free, very powerful plugin that has awesome support? The owner goes above and beyond to help with issues. I don't have any experience of that, but I do really appreciate, and I think this is maybe something that we need to do more often, is when we do have good experience, like Phil is saying there with this particular plugin, we tell people about it. We actually put that information out, on Facebook, on Twitter, in the groups and things. And if you know them, tag them in. Because I think this, from someone that's, when you create something and you put it out there, if all you ever kind of see is sort of like either nothing, you get no feedback, or people that have had a bad experience, that's all you get, it's very disheartening for people to carry on creating or carry on releasing products and supporting products and so on. So if you've had a good experience, like Phil has had you, tell those people about it. Put it onto Facebook. If they've got a group, for example, which lots of them do these days, post on there you've had a great experience. Talk to so-and-so from technical support. They were brilliant. Sort my problem out in whatever. Don't only go and say when you've had a poor experience. If you've had a good experience, tell people about that good experience, because that has such a positive effect, not only on people thinking about buying them or using that product, but also the people that create it or the support and things, because it can be a really difficult job when you put yourself out there in whatever format it is and you face criticism, because it is you do put yourself in a vulnerable position when you are open to public criticism and things like that. So, Phil, if you've had a great experience, or anybody else had a great experience with anything, whether that's like, YouTube content creation, plugins, themes, support, anything, if you had a good experience, tell them about it. It probably makes someone's day. They'll probably go home with a smile on their face as opposed to going home feeling totally dejected. What we got? Do you have any advice for small agencies, one-man bands who are looking to grow their business in such a saturated market? Probably the thing I would suggest the most would be to niche down, or if you're American, to niche down. The reason I say that is because if you are just I'm not saying limit yourself to only being able to work with clients from a specific niche, but one of the things that I kind of did was where I was based, where my business was based when I was part of an agency. Tourism was big in that area. So you had lots of bed and breakfast, hotels, sort of hostels, all kinds of different kind of accommodation-based businesses. So it made sense to be able to cater to that market, because in, let's just say, a 10-mile radius, there were probably a couple of hundred businesses. You wouldn't need a big percentage of that. And if you know you are the go-to expert for that particular type of business, so again, sticking with the accommodation-based thing. So you've got the skills in not only creating a website, but also dealing with integrated booking systems, handling those kinds of things, advising people on the best booking systems to use, whether that's an external SaaS service or API connection or dedicated plugin into something like WordPress. When you become known for being the go-to person/business for those kinds of businesses, you'll find that you will start to sell for yourself. You won't need to be contacting companies to try to sell. Like I say, you don't have to limit yourself, but promote yourself as being, the go-to company for that particular type of thing. That would probably be my take on it, because everybody's trying to cater to everybody. And when you do that, the competition just explodes. And like you say, it's a very saturated market. But the other thing to consider is that if you are known for a specific type of website, you may start off in your local area. But if you were involved in then things like Facebook groups or business groups and things like that, that give you wider exposure, or if you're comfortable creating written tutorials, video tutorials, whatever, on specific things, the misconception from years ago is like, but if I'm really good in this thing and I show other people to do it, everybody will start doing it. But the reality is most people don't want to do it. And when businesses see that you are really good and you're sharing that information, they look at that and go, this is someone that's an expert in this particular field. I want to work with this particular person. So as long as you've got things then that lead back to your website, that lead back to what you can provide them, all these little avenues can filter back down and you become known for being one of the best in that particular sector, you'll probably find that you get more work than you would expect. But that's what I would suggest. That's what I would look at doing more so these days than just trying to be a general web design individual company. Hope that helps, Shane, anyway. Okay, I'm mindful of the fact we've got about 10 minutes left, so I don't want to be too deep in things. Eric, no problem at all. Thanks for joining in today. Uh, right. How do you compare Jet Engine with ACF Pro? I think the biggest thing to compare the two of these together is the complexity or the feature set that you have. For me, ACF Pro or ACF is probably my go-to tool. It's installed as part of my blueprint because it has what I need. So I can create custom post types, meta fields, and taxonomies. Then I connect that up to bricks. So I have probably everything I need. But when it comes to Jet Engine, you can still do all the same there, but you also have more tools on top of it. So if you need to have things like ability to do front end, profile builder, to be able to work with CCTs or custom content types in your own dedicated database tables and so on, then Jet Engine might be a better option. But it really kind of comes down to what kinds of sites you build compared to what tools you have. So if you have licenses for both, there's nothing wrong with thinking, okay, well, I know them well enough to know that this project would work great with ACF and ACF Pro, so I don't need those extra features that Jet Engine provides. And then this next project might need these things. So instead of having to, supplement your tech stack to work with ACF to have additional things, you may think, well, Jet Engine makes a better sort of tool to do this because it has those things that I need. I don't need to use additional third-party plugins on top of my tech stack. So that's the way I would kind of look at it. That's the way I've always looked at it, is look at the tools that you need to do the job and use as little as possible, because every additional plugin you bring into the equation is an additional potential failure point with incompatibilities and so on. So just think about what your tech stack is and then what the project is, and then use the right set of tools for that project. That's what I would look at anyway. And like I say, that's kind of how I compare them. I think they both do the same thing, but then Jet Engine has a lot more on top if you need those extra features, and they work with the tools that you want to work with. Jennifer, absolutely niche down. It'll keep your assets streamlined too, which makes the process even easier. Processes help a lot. Absolutely. Processes are probably one of the most under-thought of things inside a business, which can make the biggest impact on your business. And this is one of the things that I've been looking at recently to kind of sort of bring things into a different kind of view. As you can imagine, I do a lot of different things when it comes to testing plugins and themes and things, creating sort of setups to be able to test things out prior to creating content, all those kinds of things, as well as running a business, accounting, dealing with emails and dealing with companies and all those kind of contracts and things like that, all those kinds of things that I do. So I've been looking at how do I streamline a lot of the processes. Now, up until this point, I've used sort of like, they'll have one service there and another service here or website there, and I need to connect the two. So I'll use something like Flowmatic or Pabbly Connect or tools like that. And they are great. But again, like I've just said, these are all things that have potential failure points. So if I can have something that integrates together to do 5 things that I do on a regular basis, that makes sense to me. So to give you a good example, I've been testing out the Fluent products recently and talking to the people behind Fluent. So now at the moment, I've got a dedicated setup that uses Fluent CRM. So that handles my email marketing, that handles all the connections then from the forms that are done through Fluent Forms that come in, that put those people into my CRM. I've also got things then when someone requests the ability to be able to collaborate with me, that'll go into a separate part, but also connect out to Fluent CRM. So I can automatically send out emails then that have the relevant files that I need to send to them for, what the media kit, for example. Then for my project management, so when I'm working with someone, I can use the Fluent Boards, which is one of their new products. And I use for booking. So if someone wants to book a consultation with me, or I need to have a call that's using Zoom, for example, I use Fluent Booking for that. And again, all these things integrate into the same kind of central hub, which is Fluent CRM. And then also obviously Fluent SMTP to handle making sure my emails get sent out. But now instead of me having to have MailerLite or In Charge for my email marketing, and then my forms to be over there, which I need then to connect that to that by using an external service. So all these things create a streamlined process that makes my life easier. I don't need to be keeping on doing things, which is why I'm also testing out Circle. So at the moment, I use Thrivecart and Thrivecart's Learn Plus for my sales funnel, for my courses and so on, and also their Learn platform for the actual course themselves. Well, I'm looking at Circle because then I've got the support can be inside there. I've got the community can be inside there. The courses can be inside there. The purchasing can be done through it. All of that aspect of my business is in one centralized location. Makes my life a lot easier. So as Jennifer says, Shane, put your processes in place as well. How do you go about deciding on a niche? I do a little of everything, but not an industry leader in any. Look at there's a couple of things. I mean, there's no right or wrong way of doing this. There's no, this is the best way. Everyone's going to be different. Every set of circumstances is going to be different. Like I say, from my point of view, where I was based, these were the biggest portion of businesses in that area. And to be honest, it was an underserved segment. Most of the businesses didn't have online booking. Most of the websites were bloody awful. So it didn't take a lot of research to go, well, that's the market that you should target, because there's enough there to be able to sustain the business, especially if you have things like maintenance plans, ongoing hosting, those kinds of things. So look at what businesses around you. Look at where you've got a hole in that, somewhere it's underserved. For example, you could have lots of restaurants in the area and their websites could be fine, but they might not have online booking systems where they can handle all the bookings and the tables and the reservation system. Well, you don't have to necessarily build the website. You could look and say, well, I could integrate a table management and a booking system into this for you. Or you may have lots of shops in the area that don't use a POS system, or they do, but it doesn't connect to their website. If you can learn how to do that, then you can say, well, look, you sell on your website and you sell in your shop, but the problem is they're not talking to each other. So you sell item X from here, your stock's not being taken out from item X on your website. If you connect your POS to your website, then we can say, well, now once something's sold there or there, they update in both ways. It's going to take some research. It's going to take looking at what your local area, not knowing where you are, it might be small, it might be sort of a city, but look within a radius at what businesses are prevalent or what types of businesses are prevalent. Look at their websites, do a bit of research, see what's not being done, what you could do better for them. If the websites look a bag of poop, well, you might want to build the websites for them. But if the websites look okay, but they're lacking features you think would make their business easier, again, going back to the processes that Jennifer and myself have said, extol the virtues of why working with you can help them become more profitable, easier to work. You can take away some of the stress or pain points. Again, going back to what I've said, failure points between this system and that system, whatever it is. Look at things that could add value so that you can either save them money, save them time, or make them more money, or generate more leads, kind of thing. Those are the things that I would look at. Unfortunately, couldn't say on how you decide it. And you might find that you try one and it doesn't work. There's just not a market to sustain it. And no one's stopping you taking work on outside that. But you may find the first one you hit on is successful. You might find the fifth one you hit on is successful. But once you kind of start looking and doing that market research, you can start to identify these potential niches, and then you can explore those and explore multiple niches at the same time. No one's saying you have to limit yourself to only being there. If you tried 3 and 1 was successful and 2 were useless, well, those 2 you push to the side and you try another 2. And you say, right, okay, I'm going to run that alongside the one that's being successful, and I'll try the next one because that might be a bit more successful. It's all about your research. Good one. Is there any way we can improve the WordPress UI and UX for a better experience? I've created a couple of videos on how you can customize the dashboard of WordPress. But I think until we get a proper unified dashboard by, Automatic themselves, I think we're going to have a hacked together system of using additional plugins and things like that, and things to sort of skin the look and design of it. I do have a video that'll come out. I might release it later on, depending on how quick I can do it, which is a plugin that has been out for several years. There's other plugins that do the same kind of thing, but it allows you to customize and add a lot of nice little features into the WordPress dashboard, which can then at least make it a much more usable, useful place. But until we kind of get Automatic to do something, you're going to be reliant upon things like UI Press or customizing things yourself. We just need WordPress to actually pull their fingers out and do something with it. And I've got to say, winner for today's name has got to go to that Old Fat Trucker. That's a bloody awesome name. I do like that. So you win the username of the day. Brilliant. Okay. There we go. I got pigeonholed into dog breeders and non-profit places. I don't advertise and keep raising my prices and still have more work that I can handle. Word of mouth is amazing. But again, like you say pigeonholed, but we could say you've niched down into it, whether it was a decision you made or whether it's something that kind of like a decision that formed itself and kind of forced itself upon you. But as you've said there, you have more work than you can handle because you are now known as the person or company or agency to go to for that particular type of work. And it's paying dividends. It kind of just reinforces the whole, if you niche down, it can be beneficial to you. But that's what I would suggest. I would recommend doing that. Tees, good to see you in. Thanks very much for joining in. Okay, so I'm going to wrap things up here in a moment, but there's something I just want to quickly say, that I'm currently working on a new community for WPTuts. It's going to be called the WPTuts Academy at this point in time. It's going to be a paid community, but there's going to be free aspects to it. So it's not going to be, you can't get in there. There'll be a free community section on there, which you could get involved with. My free courses will also be on this. So like the one I just recently released, which is how to streamline your bricks process, will be available on there. But what it's going to look at doing, and this is subject to change, but this is the plan that I have at the moment. There'll be an annual pricing plan for it. But what you'll get is access to all of the courses. So everything included in there will be accessed in there. But if you don't want to be part of that community, you want to use the free portion of it, and you still want to buy any of the courses that I have or any of the courses I've released in the future, you can still buy those on their own in the same kind of pricing structure as I've had before. But the community, I want to give something where, at this point in time, the price point that I'm working on will give you access to everything, and it will still be the price that you would pay for one of my courses. So that'll give you some indication. See, things are subject to change, but there's going to be sort of a tiered release system for this, where early adopters will get, as I've always done, a better price, and you'll also be grandfathered in, or whatever term I can actually use for that. Basically means that if you come in earlier when this is available, when I release it, you will always pay that price. If the price goes up for the next enrollment phase, should we say, you will always pay the original price. You won't ever go up in price. Just want to make that there. So this is something that I will be doing more on. That sounds terrible now. I will do more on it over the coming weeks and months as it gets closer to be able to be released. I'll do a sort of behind the scenes so you can kind of see what is going on there as well. But this is something that if you are interested, there's going to be a free open community section on there, much like you can have with Facebook, but I want to get away from Facebook because I think it's a terrible experience for anybody that wants to be part of a community. So this is going to be totally free. You'll have access to it and you'll be able to come in there and comment in the same way you can with the Facebook, but it'll be a much better experience. And then if you are someone that purchase courses or membership, everything will be in the same location. So again, going back to what I've been talking about, all those processes are going to be in one centralized location, which gives a better user experience for me and for anybody that's involved in for the back end side of things, but also for anybody that's actually part of it. Sorry, last one. Would the free part include an alternative for the Facebook group? You're the only reason I go to Facebook. Yes, it will, Weasel. That's one of the key things I want on there. You will have access to a free community section on there, which will operate in fundamentally exactly the same way as you do with the Facebook group, but it'll be inside Circle. So it'll all be inside the one community. It just gives a better experience, I think, for like myself and for anybody that's part of it. I know a lot of people don't want to use Facebook for various different reasons. So, like I say, I want to make sure that it's viable from my point of view, because I've got to pay for Circle. Circle's not cheap. It's not free. I've got to pay for it. But I want to make it so it doesn't require everybody to have some kind of paid access. You still get access to the free things. And if you want to be part of the paying side of things, you'll get, let me say, you'll have access to the courses. You'll have access to the dedicated groups for those courses. But also, if you are part of the pro plan, shall we say, that's not the name of it, but the pro plan, the paid plan, you'll have access to, like I do the live streams on here, we'll have dedicated live streams only available inside there where we can talk about whatever we want. We don't have to worry about algorithms and Facebook and all that kind of junk. But we also have cohorts in there, which don't even have to include me. If you are part of this and you're part of the paid group, you could actually say, let's say, for example, you're all doing one of my courses, and you want to get together and talk about it, you can actually set your own live stream cohort up and you can all talk in there and all be part of the video stream. I don't have to even be there. I don't have to set it up or anything. But we will also have dedicated cohorts where I will run them and we can talk about different things. There might be about a course, might be about a topic. I'll have guests come in that'll be part of that. They might run their own. They might be part of what I'm doing. I want to make it a solid community. And that's the key thing here, a community where we can learn, we can benefit, we can talk, we can have all those kind of things together. If you want to be part of the paid version, you can be, but there'll also be tons of things inside there that you don't have to pay for. I'm keen on doing that. The whole point of what I've ever done with this is I want to make it accessible as much as possible, but also have things that go beyond what I can realistically cover for zero cost. So hopefully I understand that. Hopefully this is something that you think is going to be useful to you. And I'd love to see you around there when it's available. So once I'm going to open up the sort of first wave, I'll do a live stream, letting everybody know about it. There'll be plenty of notification. There'll be dedicated links to sort of become part of it. And I'll do a walkthrough of how it all works and show you some of the things that are there. But I'm super excited about this. I've been thinking about this for quite some time. I've put it off. I've talked about it, talked to other people. I think now is the right time to do it because I want the community, the WPTuts community, to become even better than it is right now, where we all become part of that community. We all help each other out and become a great support network. So, for example, like Shane's got questions, and I'm sure Shane's got probably more questions. And then you've got people that are going like, okay, I've done the niche down side of things. Well, you can have a conversation back and forth via the sort of the community, or you can set up a little video thing and you could get other people come in. So like Jennifer's talking about it. Jennifer could come and be part of it. You don't need me. You're not reliant upon me. I think that's super exciting that we can have this kind of thing where you can just get together and little groups can spin off from the community and help each other out, and you just talk amongst yourselves and help each other. That is what I want the community to be. And I think this is something that taking it outside of something like Facebook into its own dedicated space will probably have less people, but I think it'll be a lot more exciting. Anyway, I wanted to say that when I know more and when I'm ready, I'll let you know more about it. But thank you, everybody, for joining in today's live stream. It's been great fun talking about these things. I'll probably see you again next week. Don't forget, we'll be doing the Creators podcast stroke video cast again next week. So keep an eye out for that. We'll all be letting you know about it. So I'd love to see some of those names and faces being part of that. But as always, thank you so much for joining in. Thanks for listening to me waffle for an hour. And I will see you all very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy your weekend and stay safe. Take care.